The chronological Bible reading for January 24th is Genesis chapters 35 through 37. God speaks to Jacob and says, "Get up, go to the land of Bethel and settle there." That's the land that God had appeared to him at 20 plus years before when he was running from Esau, fearing for his life. God had told him then that he was going to bless Jacob and he was going to bless all the peoples on the earth through Jacob and through his offspring. God had said he was going to give him that land and he would give it to his offspring as well, and that those who would come from Jacob's family line would be so numerous they would be like the dust of the ground. This seems to be a turning point for Jacob, and he commands everyone in his family to get rid of the foreign gods that they're still carrying with them. It seems for most of us, when we come into contact with God, when we're born again and changed, we have been given a new life, there's a steady progression of growth in us. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is like the mustard seed. It starts off as the smallest of seeds, but eventually it grows and becomes the largest plant in the garden. The birds of the air come and make their nests in it, and it overshadows everything else. Such it is with the kingdom. It starts off small, but as we grow and mature in our faith, it becomes bigger and bigger, overtaking every aspect of our life. It seems at this point in Genesis 35, Jacob is willing to go all in and to demand that his family does as well. He also testifies to them that God has been with him everywhere he's gone, and that he's never been forsaken. God then appears to Jacob again and renames him, saying, "You are going to be called Israel." Now, the name Jacob means deceiver or heel catcher, someone who trips other people. But Israel means contends with God. Jacob in the flesh, as a man operating in his old human identity, is one who was against other people, tricking them, and getting what he wanted through deceit. But when he's operating as who God called him to be, he's one who contends with God. He wrestles with God, struggling with God to accomplish God's will in his own life and in his family, and modeling that for all of us. There's tremendous power in the name. Our names have meaning, and our words are incredibly powerful. Every time you say somebody's name, you're reaffirming who they are. It was time for people to stop calling Jacob Jacob and start calling him Israel. In the very next paragraph, as Rachel is giving birth and her life is slipping away, she names her son Benoni, which means son of my sorrow. And can you imagine what this little boy growing up would turn out to be like if every day, all day long for his entire life, he had to dwell on the fact that his name, his very identity, was based in the sorrow of his mother, and her very last breath was used to place a curse like that upon him. Fortunately, his father, now named Israel, steps in and says, "No, my son will not have that identity." And he renames him Ben-Yamin, or Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. The right hand is symbolic of power. And so Israel was effectively saying of his youngest son, he will not be known for killing his mother. He's not going to be a man of sorrows. He will be a man of authority, and he will carry out the promises of the Most High God that his father fought for. In chapter 37, we're introduced to Joseph, who was a dreamer and seems to have been lacking some social skills and tact. His brothers were jealous of him, and it doesn't really seem fair that he was his father's favorite. He got special clothing and special treatment. He didn't have to work out in the fields tending the flocks like his brothers did. Instead, he would go to his father and report how his brothers weren't doing things properly. To make matters worse, he began telling them the dreams that he was having, that were interpreted by all to say that they, including their parents, would all be bowing down to him, to Joseph. Very often, God does reveal his future will to people through dreams. And we also see that when God shares something with us, it's likely best that we don't share it with everybody. After searching and getting some help from a stranger who found him in a field, Joseph finds his brothers in Dothan. We can only imagine how guilty Joseph's brothers must have felt, tricking their father to convince him that his youngest son had been devoured by a wild animal, and surely they wondered what became of their brother. Can only imagine how Joseph felt, having been betrayed in this way, sold into slavery by his own flesh and blood. Surely during the next 13 years of Joseph's life, when he was a slave, a servant, and a prisoner, guilty of pride perhaps and indiscretion, but no real crimes, he was forced to grow up, to mature, to start seeing things from different people's perspectives. Certainly he had lots of regrets, and I wonder if he began questioning the dreams that God had given him. Were those promises of God conditional? Could it be that his brothers and his father would someday bow down to him? Had he messed up so badly that it would now be impossible for God to use him? Surely he must have thought that all hope was lost. And I wonder if he ever thought to himself, if I ever see my brothers or my father again, I'll treat them with respect. I will bite my tongue. I will find good and positive and uplifting things to say to them and about them. Surely he struggled with bitterness, anger, resentment, and a wide range of other emotions. But I wonder if also he began taking responsibility for the words he'd said, the things that he'd done, and the role he played in contributing to his having been sold by his brothers into slavery. Joseph did not deserve to be treated that way. His brothers had no right to do that to him. And yet Joseph made up his mind that he would not be a victim. He would overcome. He would be, like his father, one who would wrestle with God. And may we do the same. God bless you, my friends. Thank you for being on this journey with me. We'll see you tomorrow.